Nice to see you all, and thanks for coming. This is the second in our series, Raiders Rally Round,
That's it.
about different elements of life at North Shore Country Day. And this one is focused on the performing arts, a long time pillar of our school. So we will, excuse me, we'll jump through. I'm just going to do a few introductory remarks, and then we will hear from the stars of the show, which are performing arts teachers. So I don't really. Let's keep going. I think everybody, if we go back, everybody probably knows who I am. So we can skip that slide. I'm Tom. Nice to see you. I think I know everybody who's on the call. Special welcome to former faculty member Michael Querio, who's joining us. Michael, it's always good to see you. Thanks for continuing to be a part of Raider Nation, and it's good to see you again. Most folks know most of this information, so I'm not going to walk through all of this, but it's always good to kind of ground ourselves in where we are currently as a school. I'm going to do just a really quick update on life during COVID as well. But we are at about 525 students this year. Those students come from 40 different zip codes, which is always one of my favorite statistics for us to mention. We currently have 20, almost, actually that's a little low, it's almost up to 25% of the student body who now receive some sort of financial aid from the school, to the tune each year of $2.3 million, which is something also fundamental to who we are as a school. And that certainly was helped along, was it only a week ago? I think a week ago, when we had our annual benefit, our first ever virtual benefit. And one of our co-chairs, Kathy Bell Bartholome, also a North Shore alum, is here on the call. Kathy, good to see you. Let's go on to the next slide. This is a quick snapshot. So many of you already know where we've been over the last few months, so I'm not going to belabor it, but I like that last slide just because it's a little bit of a snapshot of the sort of first round of performing arts adaptation, which was the virtual Take 10 performances that happened last spring. So we pivoted pretty quickly, and the students who had already been working on their plays figured out how to do it over Zoom. And this was only about 2 weeks into remote learning as well. This was in April. So one of our very first performing arts events was over Zoom, and the Take 10s, the kids, did a great job and managed to adapt to a new environment, right? Because the show must go on. Let's go to the next slide. This was not this week, but it could have been. It could have been a little bit earlier this week. But this is just a little bit of how we're doing school this year. We have been in school almost all year, and we've managed this. This photo is a little stretched, actually, but I took this morning of the upper school instrumental ensemble practicing. So we have managed not only to stay in school over the course of the year, but also to continue all of our performing arts programs in different ways, which is something that we're obviously very pleased with. And you can't really see it way here in the back. I didn't notice this until I walked by. The back left is a saxophone player, and he had his saxophone wrapped at the I guess what do you call it, at the output, at the spout. So he was certainly breathing into the wood, to the reed, but it was wrapped so it wasn't expelling anything obnoxious into the air. So just one of those little minor adaptations that have accumulated over the course of the year. Next slide. Our little people are enjoying a full day of school right now. And as you can see here, even if they're not rolling all over each other like they normally would be, they're still getting the warmth and the smiles and the personal attention from all of our lower school teachers, including our own Linda Kay, who we will hear from shortly. And a preview of coming events. This young man will be performing very shortly in the spring musical in the cabaret, which is coming up right after this and for the next few nights. And we'll have information about how you can see that show. And just a reminder, because as we contextualize the critical role of the arts in a North Shore education, these are the ways that we think about what we do at school, and whether that's in art, whether that's in athletics, whether that's in the classroom, these are the things that make up the core of who we are: connecting, challenging, engaging, and exploring. And certainly the performing arts engage every one of these pillars every time the kids are practicing and performing. And that's, I think, part of the magic and part of the secret sauce about what a North Shore education really is. Okay. And those of you're all well acquainted with the school, but as we continue to talk about what are those elements of a North Shore education, athletics and performing arts, in our historic expectation of participation in those things is core to challenging kids, to exploring new areas of themselves, to engaging with others and connecting with others. So remains central to everything that we do. And I think before we move on and we hear from Julia, I think the thing that I would just maybe finish up with is the idea that the arts have always been central to who we are, to how we define ourselves as a school. And I think that's important. And it's one of the things to me that is really, a proxy for a strong school. If you show me a school with a strong arts program, chances are you're looking at a strong school. I feel that, and I think that by the time you log off tonight, you'll see that borne out in everything that you hear. Not only that North Shore continues to be strong and to grow and to evolve, but that the role of the arts remains central, and that the support for the arts remains critical to the way that we think of doing school every day. Okay, so next we're going to hear from Julia McCall. Many of you know Julia. She is the chair of the Performing Arts Department. She also teaches middle and upper school theater, acting, and directing, and a number of other electives. She herself is active in many of the community theaters across Chicago. She continues to perform and does all of those things while she continues to support all of our student artists and our performers at school. So she has the best oversight, kind of the best vision of the entire department and the program. So we're going to hear a little bit from Julia now, and then we'll hear a few more, and then we'll have time at the end for questions or thoughts from those of you who would like to chime in. So Cam, why don't we go ahead, and I will mute myself so you can go ahead and show this.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Julia McCall. I'm the Performing Arts Department Chair, and I would like to welcome you to our Performing Arts Virtual Raider Rally of 2021. I really wish I could have been live tonight, but I'm actually getting ready for our first ever live stream of our spring musical, Hindsight 2020. So we will be sharing a link with you, so please tune in and join us for this first ever one-of-a-kind performance at North Shore. Let's go ahead and get started. So our department philosophy is we value process and performance as key to the pursuit of excellence. That goes for each and every area of our department. So this paves a path of self-discovery and creativity, all while strengthening students' passion. We always love to also have student input of like, what do you love? What do you want to explore? That's what really makes our department tick. Through our junior kindergarten to 12th grade initiative, we strive to provide opportunities for our students to create, perform, and connect through a variety of performance outlets. And we have a large variety to choose from. We're very fortunate. And also, most importantly, when we have a student leave North Shore, we want them to continue creating and developing a lifelong supporter of the performing arts. That's what we really, our main goal is with our takeaway. So when we got into the 2021 school year, this brought me to this quote from the musical Ragtime, which is one of my favorite shows. Without art, what is our existence but chaos? And really for a lot of us, especially in the performing arts, we sort of had this moment of like, how are we going to do this? Okay. But there was also a degree of like nervous excitement of like, how are we re-looking at like how we can really get our programming to connect with students, to connect with the community, and to continue with the tradition that North Shore is really known for. So process versus performance is a really solid building block of our department. And more than ever this year, we feel that process and performance really went hand in hand. The process obviously was trying to think of the logistics, how are we gonna make things work? And the performance was finally offering our students an outlet to really find their own voice and do what we normally do, really guide them, really take them on that journey in their lives. So challenge of thinking, creating, envisioning differently while maintaining safety. This was our first step of really thinking like, how are we going to do this, right? Then that opened up new ways of approaching the performing arts. Our really awesome catchphrase, and especially if you've played improv, was say yes. And I cannot tell you, having a department of such amazing colleagues that literally just said yes and dove in, and we figured it out as we went. And you know what? We just knew things were going to shift and things had to change. And we kept the students at the forefront of all of our decision making. So also we took our own risks of, how are we going to make this exciting and interesting and still have that North Shore comfort that we want to offer students as well. Websites became a huge outlet for especially our concerts or performances that we would have had, especially in the winter months. So we really depended on Google Sites to do that, which was fantastic because you could share with the community pretty quickly. It had a very easy collaborative platform to use. Zoom performances, as we all know and love, were a really hot commodity, especially last spring, and this continued into this year. But man, we had some more skill sets that really allowed us to do a lot more with it, like angling yourself or using virtual backgrounds, things that we didn't know last spring and got to really grow with going forward. Outdoor performances, who knew North Shore could really turn into our little own Ravinia? We explored that in the fall. It was a great success. The weather stayed with us and we couldn't have been happier with that performance. Arts are key to emotional, mental, and physical health. And again, we really learned that this year. We really saw students come out of that fog of where they were last spring, and we really had to work with them and us to get really back into that discipline and those behaviors and what really constitutes supporting one another. Those key aspects really went hand in hand through the performing arts, and I cannot tell you, getting to observe students and how they lit up when they could come to class and just create and hear their voices with other voices surrounding them, not through a screen, was pretty magical. So instrumental ensemble was a part of our Fall Performing Arts Festival, which was outdoor. And you could see we had a lot of changes, especially in instrumental ensemble, with different types of masks, different types of coverings for the instruments, just to maintain that safety. We had barriers where our instructor of instrumental ensemble, Ann Goodrich, would teach in her classroom, all while maintaining that 6 feet distance. But we loved the fact that we gave our students a goal. And that was the thing that was really missing when you take away concerts and main productions, is where is that goal? And students really rose to the occasion of, we really want to make the most of this experience by playing outdoors. And they did a fantastic job. So some other instrumental ensemble highlights were recording various pieces for the Winter Morning X website, working on solos of their choice while remote learning. That was actually a really great positive that we found that came out of this, was like students got to really have one-on-one instructor time with private teaching in a sense. Middle school highlights was a few collaboration pieces despite being fully remote this year. So we had Ode to Joy for Beethoven's 250th birthday, and of course a mashup of sea shanties after the TikTok takeover. So love that. Then our music classes, we had video projects, learning more deeply about musicians from the 50s and 60s and modern day musicians. So again, technology was key to our success this year in performing arts, especially in instrumental ensemble. We got to really explore different approaches if we couldn't depend on being as a group in one space playing live. So technical theater also was a strong part of our fall play festival. They made Haunted Trees, which turned out amazing. We also had, again, our outdoor stage, so we couldn't do too much with the set outside because you just didn't know what the weather was going to do. But we got to create a really nice fall sort of display to get into that fall period with pumpkins and hay bales and mums, and it really turned out very, very well. And also having the auditorium as a backdrop was just awesome. And so a lot of my highlights were actually playwriting, which students really, really gravitated to. They really loved to like hear their own voices and talk about topics that were important to them and really visualize it for the stage with dialogue. So we worked a lot on playwriting. We did 6-foot scenes, which the students thought were hilarious because you literally had to keep them apart on the stage. And then of course we had virtual scenes, which really stressed your vocal inflection, right? And your delivery, your eye contact, but also we had some fun with like moving the Zoom frame around so you could actually like be next to your actor in real time. And then how are you gonna actually deliver or pass a prop through the Zoom frame? So those were some fun things that we came up with, especially with our virtual scenes for both middle school and upper school acting classes. So our productions, we had our fall play, which was The Hallmarks of Horror. This was outside again, and it was just a journey having rehearsal. I look back at these photos and I'm like, oh my gosh, with the face shields and the masks and trying to get students to project their voices, especially when we were inside on the stage. But you know, it's like you see those beginning photos and it goes all the way through to that performance. And that's what we love. We love to see that growth and that arch of how our students were challenged and how they rose to the occasion. Our winter play was actually Suitcase Theater, which I had did as a interim years ago, where we had actually toured a children's theater company that the students would write their own show or their story adaptation, and then we would use puppets, or students would create their own set pieces or characters and bring them to life. So we sort of took that same idea and put it into a puppet show, and the students actually wrote 2 plays inspired by Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers. We even have some human characters in it as well, and they had a blast. And we really, really cannot thank you all enough for your support this year. It has been a challenge, But again, we feel like we have made the most of what we can work within. And we're excited. We're excited to see where the rest of the year takes us, and especially our upcoming musical and Take 10, and our couple other like performances that we're hoping to maybe bring outdoors again when the weather gets nice, hopefully in May. So really, we couldn't be happier or more proud of our students and their work this year. And it really, really did pay off. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. And I really hope that you can tune in for our musical with our live stream production. Thanks again and have a great evening. Bye. Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Okay, so that gives you a really, I think, nice
Hi,
overview.
everyone. Well,
And in case you missed it the first time, you can get another overview. So obviously we're working to move on to the next slide here, but there we go. It's a nice overview, I think, of what we're doing right now, and gives you also a sense of the scope of the theater program. We will generally do four major productions in a year, including a children's play, a musical, a fall play, and then the Take 10 performances in the spring. I know some of you on the call have veterans of the theater program, who could explain much more and maybe can answer some questions. Obviously, we have also at North Shore a very long and storied tradition of chorus, and Michael Querio is a big part of that tradition, of course, who's with us. Our current choral director is Timothy Ma. You can read a little bit about Tim here. He is a wonderful guy, a wonderful teacher, and is a real Pied Piper as far as having kids who really fall in love with music. And Tim's going to tell us a little bit about the choral program.
Raider Nation, my name is Timothy Ma, and I'm the upper and middle school music and chorus teacher at North Shore Country Day. I'd like to take some time tonight to share with you some experiences that our middle and upper school students have been having this year. Despite the very strange and bizarre circumstances, they've been able to continue creating and singing and making music and pursuing their art. Some buzzwords that frequented the chorus room before this pandemic hit: breathe, support, pitch, spit, process, product, exchange. These words now take on an entirely different meaning, as in breathe through your mask, ask for support if needed, pitch your paper towels in the garbage after washing your hands, spit in a tube once a week, process these products, wipes, hand sanitizer, masks, and how many air exchanges do we need between chorus rehearsals? Never thought we would get here. Speaking of chorus rehearsals and masks, I never thought that there were so many different kinds of singers' masks. Singers' masks are face masks that are specially designed to produce a cavernous space for the person wearing the mask to sing into while maintaining safety and containing the spread of particles. I've often told students and colleagues alike that singing with a mask covering your nose and your mouth is pretty much like trying to play a tennis match if somebody rubber banded your hands together. Just not the most ideal way to go about it, that's for sure. However, despite these challenges and hurdles, I, as a music educator, as a musician, as a parent, believe that we still need to sing. Children and adults alike need to sing to combat stress, to boost immune system function, to build and expand social connections, and to benefit our short-term and long-term memory. Our students certainly have been doing more than their fair share of singing this school year. Back in the fall in October, we had an outdoor fall performing arts festival, and that featured performances by numerous middle and upper school students, both vocalists and instrumentalists and theater students. I have a short clip here sung by Caroline Wolf, a 7th grader who's in middle school chorus. This is Rise Up by Audra Day.
All we need is hope. For that we have each other. For glad we have each other. Yeah.
All we need is hope, and we're glad that we have each other. I'd say that those are pretty resonant words. Speaking of very moving lyrics, the upper school chorus sang Rainbow by Casey Musgraves. And if you take a look at some of the lyrics down there, it's totally fits in the theme of this pandemic and isolation and struggle, knowing that, hey, you know what? I'm looking over you. I've got you. Whether it's a friend or a parent or a child or a grandparent, just to tell somebody, hey, I've got you. Don't worry. I'm here for you. Something that we could all use more of. Additionally, in November, we had 3 of our upper school chorus students, Abby Kaplan, Emmy Kamo, and Lola Adebiyi, sing as part of the virtual Winnetka Veterans Day ceremony. Here's a clip.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
So that short clip was an example of a virtual choir. Some of you may have seen these explode over YouTube. It's quite a feat of audio engineering, that's for sure. So a virtual choir is when multiple individuals sing their own parts, often with a click track or a help track playing in their headphones, and they sing along with that guide track so that when the audio engineer puts everything together, everything is synchronized in terms of tempo and in terms of having everything line up to the beat. And that's why you can create an artificial choir using natural ingredients, so to speak. Furthermore, all of my middle school and upper school chorus students are going to be participating in a virtual solo and ensemble contest this spring, sponsored by the Northern Illinois Music Conference. Students will record themselves singing a solo, submit a video, and then they'll get written feedback by an area music teacher that's not myself. Some exciting news in upper school. We introduced a new class called Intro to Piano and Music Theory. And we had 7 students sign up for it. And we have 7 students in the class right now. Their first semester final project was to compose a solo piano piece following certain parameters. And this is one such example composed by Jola Adebiyi. This is entitled Coastline. I think it's wonderful and important that our students continue exercising their creativity and artistry during this time. There's so much isolation, there's so much change, there's so much stress. I think it's important for students to be able to tap inside themselves and find something to create that comes from within and that's unique. And this is certainly one such example. The main event, as you're viewing this video, is of course right around the corner, Hindsight 2020. This is our upper school musical cabaret this year. And this is a one-of-a-kind type of production, and I am certain that you will enjoy the selections that are going to be presented. This is going to be 12 of our upper school students performing in solo, duet, 1 trio, and then company numbers. There are going to be 3 songs where the entire 12-member cast is going to be singing together on and combining forces. This is going to be the first performance in the auditorium of music, theater, instrumental, choral, anything like that. This is going to be the first of its kind since the pandemic started. And so this is going to be a momentous event. I really hope that you look forward to it and enjoy listening to and watching all of these students' hard work, just like they're going to share and sing and dance and act their hearts out in hopes of looking forward to things that they miss that we used to have before all this craziness started. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. I hope you enjoy Hindsight 2020 this evening.
And in case you were wondering why Tim and Julia recorded their presentations, that's exactly why, is that the curtain goes up in 23 minutes. on Hindsight, and they are over in the auditorium right now with our student performers. So otherwise they'd be here and be happy to answer your questions, but I think they did a really nice job of doing an overview of those two important programs. Now, though, live in person via Zoom from an undisclosed location is our very own Linda Kay, who you all know and love, I think. And Linda is in her 42nd year at North Shore Country Day, which, if I was doing my math, means that I was 7 when she started teaching here. Linda has taught generations and generations of our youngest Raiders the importance of music, the love of music, and also through her own work and her own singing, shows them what it means to be a lifelong learner and what it means to have a growth mindset. So Linda, please take it away.
All right, next slide, please, Kim. It takes a village to make music. It takes music to make a village. This poster is on the door of the lower school music room to remind all of us of the joy of making music together and how making music together can teach us so many things about cooperation, respect, and taking care of each other, something very important at this time. The next slide, please. Lower school music looks a little different this year. Because all the lower school classes have been split into 2 cohorts in 2 different classrooms, the music room became one of the JK classrooms, and I'm using the drama dance room in the Arts Center this year. So this is what the room looks like. Students are sitting in chairs, socially distanced, wearing masks. So the singing games, passing games, playing the Orff instruments, creative movement, singing together that have been part of the lower school curriculum also looks very different this year. And as you can see, it's been really interesting with the glass walls, and those other walls on the other side are mirrored. And so for the little ones, that is really been a challenge to keep their attention on what we're doing versus, checking themselves in the mirror and waving to their friends as they walk by. At the beginning of the school year, each lower school student received a music kit, a tote bag or a drawstring bag, purple of course, that contained materials for use in music class. Rhythm sticks, a beanbag, an egg shaker, a scarf or a ribbon stick for movement, a packet of craft sticks and hearts for rhythm patterns, and a spiral-bound unlined page book for in each kit. These have worked well because we've moved through hybrid learning, remote learning, all-day in-person learning, and it gives the children some manipulatives to use, some things to use that they don't need to share, and I don't need to collect and pass out and try to sanitize and return. The schedule is also different. Normally, I would see all of the children basically all of the time through the 6-day rotation. But this year, the 4 specials, music, art, tech, and science, rotate through 4 different schedules of 12 school days each, where we see 2 or 3 grades in a concentrated period of time. So we see them every day for those 12 days, which is very interesting for me because I've never taught that way. And it's been something very different for me. Next slide, please. So we continue to engage students in understanding, listening, reading and writing music, creating, performing, and most importantly, finding the joy in making music together. Even though we can't sing, although we sing quietly, particularly with the littler ones, with our masks, we can chant and speak and create and play and read compositions with words and rhythms and even do things like that over Zoom, even with the time lag of the sound. I've done lots of sing along with Mrs. K videos that I've posted for the younger students to sing along with at home. I've been told parents have now learned most of our songs. We continue to play the rhythm sticks, and I have a set of bucket drums, which have been a great success, and body percussion. And you'll see at the end of my presentation, the 4th graders have been doing ukuleles this year. So we still have found ways to work together to create musical experiences that bring us understanding of ourselves and others, confidence, and most importantly, joy. Next slide. So here's an example of teaching when you have most of the students are in person, but then you see the computer there. There were 3 students that were remote at the same time. We were doing a creative movement project. This was, again, the 4th graders, and they have these ribbon sticks, which are very cool. And we were doing a project with form and music where they had to listen to a piece of music. And in fact, if any of you remember the Alley Cat song, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. So that was fun. And then they had to create different movement for different sections of the song. And then again, with the students that were on Zoom, we put the computer so that they're facing me as if they were still in the classroom. And so we've managed to work it out. The kids all been great about helping each other and helping the Zoom kids feel part of the class. The fifth graders did a rhythm game this week called Concentration, where you call out numbers to each other and you have to keep track of who's in and who's out. And we have 1 or 2 students in each fifth grade group that are remote, and the students in person helped to figure out how are we going to involve the kids that were remote so they could still play the game. All right, next slide, please. So as I said, I've done something very new for me this year with this concentrated 12 days, and we've done more project-oriented activities. There's a beautiful new picture book of Carnival of the Animals. The piece of music is by Saint-Saëns, and the book is the book is illustrations, and all of the music is played by the Connie Mason family in England. One of the sons played the cello at Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's wedding. And I didn't realize there are 7 children and every single one of them plays an instrument. 2 pianists, 2 cellists, and violinists, and they've recorded all of this music and they're featured in the picture books, which is really lovely. And we've been having fun with figuring out how we would write a piece of music about each animal, and then the students have been doing movement with it. And we're doing a project like that. Second grade learned about jazz music and learned how to scat sing. We have a couple, I think, upcoming jazz singers in that group. We talked about ballet, and this was kind of a let's try it thing on my part. I wasn't sure if this would go very well with second graders, but there's a beautiful new picture book again of Swan Lake featuring Misty Copeland, who is the first dancer of color to become the principal dancer in the American Ballet Theater. And she is featured in this book with Swan Lake. So I read the story, and then we looked at some clips of various productions of it, and the second graders were enthralled. I was very pleasantly surprised. And we had great discussions about toe shoes and how you can dance on your toes, but how the toe shoes really work and all of that sort of thing. And fourth grade, there's a book called My Name is a Song about a little girl who has a very complicated name and her teacher doesn't learn to say it correctly. And her mother talks to her about how everyone's name has a song to it and she should sing it and be proud of it. And as part of that story, then each of the fourth graders created their own name song and recorded them. And we're going to send them to the author of the book and share and hopefully have a Zoom meeting with her. They wrote, again, with Beethoven's 250th birthday, they wrote some new lyrics for this time period to Ode to Joy. And we framed it as the words to Ode to Joy, of course, are very lovely, but are fairly lofty because it's originally a poem by Goethe. And so what would be something you could say about people and taking care of each other and what's happening in the world if you were writing this for younger students? And they did a beautiful job with that. Bucket drumming, like I said, has been very popular. I've even promised the younger kids that the last day of their rotation, they get to play the drums as well. And the fourth graders have done ukulele. Fifth grade, they've studied West Side Story every year for many years, and I was not going to give that up. It's a wonderful musical. It's a wonderful story for fifth graders to really dive into and talk about and understand. And again, they've done projects with the bucket drumming. The third graders, with their projects, we studied rap music. And basically, what is rap? Well, it's speaking to a pattern, speaking to a rhythm. And so we worked with that a little bit. And then as part of the Frankie Fun protest project that was school-wide, the 2 third grade classes wrote raps with the voice of being the 4 young men who did the first sit-in at the Woolworth lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina in 1960. They had studied that in their classroom, and they then used that as their voice to write the raps. And they wrote really thoughtful, beautiful, wonderful raps. And those are posted in the Almquist Gallery as part of the art exhibit for them from the lower school. And they also have been doing bucket drumming, playing patterns that go along with classical musical pieces. They've been doing a project with doing patterns with the march from the Nutcracker Ballet. And evidently in art class the last couple of days, they've started to hum bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. And the art teacher's going, why are you singing the Nutcracker? And so, things, they get it in their heads and they carry it on. And today we did projects where each child made up their own pattern that they played as a solo. And then we had a phrase that we spoke and played in rhythm that tied all of the different solos together. And one of the third grade groups came up with introducing 13 people playing patterns on their drums. And that's what they said and played each time. Very creative alliteration without even realizing it, all those wonderful things. All right, next slide, please. We are doing chorus in lower school. We're doing it totally via Zoom. Bless those 25 kids who come at the end of a long day. Even when we were fully remote, we did chorus. And we are singing. I don't know if we're going to be able to perform. We're hoping to be able to do something in the spring. But they're getting the experience. They've got a piece of choral music in their hands, which for the third graders is a new skill. And we're building some foundations that next year, when hopefully we can have chorus in person, will certainly do us well. And this is a song that we're working on. I was looking for pieces for them and I found this, and I think this really describes why we sing, whether it's in a chorus or whether all together, how much we share when we share a song, and that feeling of singing together and being part of something. So music is active and challenging and in good shape in the lower school. And while we look forward to the joys of singing together, again, particularly with middle and upper school choruses and of performances on the stage, the students are engaged and enthusiastic participants in their learning. This year, thanks to Zoom, we actually have the ability to connect with musical performers internationally. So for Susan Marshall, we couldn't bring someone to campus. And so I said, let's look internationally. Travel isn't an issue this year. So because of that, some of the lower school grades and the upper school chorus are going to have the opportunity this spring to Zoom chat with a young man in the UK named Alexander Chance, who is a countertenor, a professional singer. Alex has sung with, several professional choral ensembles, including the Gesualdo Six, and will speak with the students about the countertenor voice, an adult male voice with the range of an adult female soprano and quite unusual to American ears, and what it's like to try to make a life as a professional singer. So that's not part of Susan Marshall, but I found him in the search. And I'm very excited to announce that our Susan Marshall artist this year will be Monica Menwana, a soprano from Pretoria, South Africa. Monica is a classically trained singer and a graduate of the University of Pretoria. She will present a pre-filmed recital, so we don't have to deal with tech problems or Zoom or whatever, of opera arias, classical songs, and ending with 2 songs in Xhosa, one of the many languages of South Africa. And one of her last song is going to be a song called Pata Pata, which many of our students will know, since it's one of the traditional dances that is at the 3rd, 8th, and 5th grade. I think, I don't remember which grades do together at our gathering in December before we leave for winter break. And then Monica will Zoom on a day with various groups of students, as we normally do with the Susan Marshall program. So I would like to finish my presentation with a short video by our wonderful Jay Young of the 4th graders playing their ukuleles to the Beatles' Yellow Submarine. I did not realize that Jay was going to videotape us. I thought he was coming in to do pictures. So the ukuleles are not all quite as tuned as they should be, but it's still a wonderful example of what our kids can accomplish even in the midst of a pandemic. So thank you. So Kim, if you would share the video.
Okay, Linda, thank you so much. What a great overview of what our JK through 5-year-olds are doing in music every day, and even now, even during COVID. So a lot of creativity and a lot of adaptation this year. And it does stick. Just for reference, the other day we were talking about penguins at dinner when my 7th grader broke out in song to sing Personal Penguin, and had to explain to Diana and I where he had learned Personal Penguin. So thank you, I think, for that. And thank you truly and sincerely for all that you do for generations of our North Shore artists, young artists. So that is the end of the formal program.